to invite the experienced people, as the name suggests. It's about expertise. So people who have gained experience, who have proved themselves in the industry. We are going to invite those people in this podcast, and every week we are going to have that discussion in detail with those people. And today, I'm very proud to say that I have Kishore with me, who is a director of design at Match.com, and he's been in the industry for quite long. So please welcome, please join me in welcoming Kishore on this podcast today. I'll pass on to Kishore. Kishore, can you just introduce yourself and maybe tell about yourself?
Hey, this is Kishore. Uh, I lead the design at Mesh.ai currently. Uh, uh, I mean, it has been quite a long journey actually in design. I started in 2005 and I was still graduating then. And, it was I was passionate about design always. Uh, I never went to a design school actually. And when I became a designer, I didn't knew what kind of things happen in design.
Right,
I was more of a person who could. So I was graduating in computer science, and I came across this tool called Flash. It was an animation sort of software from Macromedia. Now it's bought by Adobe, and I was learning action scripting there from one of the friend's brother who used to work with Z networks, and then the capabilities of it actually I liked a lot actually, and hence I started doing animation, and then other tools actually, the photoshops and other tools I could do, and I got landed in a job because of that, those passion. Um, and then from there I could start as a designer. Um, so for first 5 years I was it was a night shift job. I was still studying. I could earn something which was great for me. I was also teaching designs over the weekends to students. I had a one there was one uh, uh, institution actually in East Delhi where I would go to weekends and teach folks digital paintings and all actually.
nice.
That is how it started. I I moved in, with different roles actually in the organization, and then I started something on my own actually,
Right,
which did not work. And then I thought maybe that's not my cup of tea. Maybe the design is the perfect thing for me.
right,
Hence, when I did started my own actually stuff, I was mostly doing sales, design design, and then industry got shifted a lot actually from where I started when I was doing design, and when I thought maybe design is the perfect thing for me.
right,
That's what a lot of learning was required. At the same time, within that learning which was required, I did uh, mobile apps started become happening in India, and from one of my customers actually, who was a follower of Dalai Lama, he asked me to create a mobile app for Dalai Lama. I mean, for the followers, and henceforth, that's how when first created a mobile app. I didn't know about mobile apps or iPhone apps,
right.
but then I did something. I learned the best practices of iOS and all whatever it was available, and I was able to manage to do that. Henceforth, from there, I got into direct eye, and I think that is where we met. So the first mobile product actually in totality was Talk.2,
Right.
which the tool, the chat app we were working on together with the team. Now it's called Flock,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
uh, but yeah, initially it was called Talk.2.
yeah.
And then from that I moved to Snapdeal. Snapdeal was it was a happening place
Right,
then with a lot of fundings and all. And then I moved from Snapdeal to Airtel. Then I thought maybe I should learn something. I should go for a master's actually in design,
right,
because I never learned to design, so I should do that.
right,
I got I got enrolled in one of the schools, but then the bank here in India did not supported me. I was supposed to go to Domus Academy Milan. So they said, why don't you go to US, go to Germany, we'll fund you. No one goes to Italy. We
Right.
don't fund
Right.
people going to Italy. There's nothing there. You
Right.
can learn fashion, but then we don't. They don't didn't understand what is design,
Right.
uh, and there are a lot of technicalities as well. I don't want to get into that. So I attended, a summer school at Copenhagen Institute of Interaction Design in Denmark.
Right.
5 weeks course, but it was quite exciting. I came across a lot of interesting, interesting people, a lot of interesting teachers, which from which I can learn from. A lot of students from accomplished companies, and also as well. But then I learned a lot. Actually, got uh, 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 I mean, learnings of different things as well, apart from designs, culture, and all.
Right.
And then came back to India, and then moved back, moved to South, to Freshworks in Chennai.
Okay.
It was a different place altogether. I learned a lot there as well. I mean, prior to that, it was more consumer companies, uh,
Right.
products I was working on.
Right.
First, that was the first instance I was working on a SaaS tool,
Right.
and it was the most challenging job for me. A, learning SaaS.
Right.
B, it was bot platform, and it was a terrible product actually to start
Right.
uh, working with. It was a terrible product actually. It was not a, even it was not a it was a very hard to understand product the way it was. So make
Right.
it simplified actually. So initially I was designing for mass audiences,
Right.
like e-commerce or telecom or music.
Right.
I can tell. So or payments. It was
Right.
very fussy, right?
Right.
And to going to a SaaS and a bot, actually, it was completely the nomenclature of it, the verbose, the language,
Right.
technicalities of it. It was very challenging, and it was
Right.
a complete challenge for me in terms of how I could able to pull that out.
Right.
So yeah, and then from there I went, joined service now. Life
Right.
was easier comparatively.
Right.
Why? Because I did learned a lot actually in last 2 years at Freshworks in terms of technicalities. The way this as tools work.
Right.
It was easier for me to kind of execute those projects.
Right.
Apart from one of the tools, which is GRC
Right.
again, so it's very different domain. But and then I moved from service now to Times Internet actually, leading a team actually. That was, I thought, our over experienced IC, and
Right.
no one did me in the team.
Okay.
Someone who, who is like very vocal. So I thought maybe I should lead a team now, and
Okay.
henceforth I thought maybe Internet would be the right place for me. I
Okay.
was leading three products there. One was, it was a Times card. It was a card management product from HDFC.
Right.
Uh, uh, I mean, sadly, that product was not launched actually because there's some investment from China in HDFC, and then in government of India kind of had a lot of put some regulations because of the conflict at borders. So that product did not see of the day of light till the time I was there, because there were like a lot of compliance and
Correct.
licensing issues there. But I was doing a platform for for companies who want to publish their ads on Times Internet entire platform. So that's, if you know the budget, if you know the target, this is how, and where do you want to place, or what timing you want to place the ad.
Right.
So this was the configuration of that product.
Right.
And I was also working on the Times of India mobile app. So this is what I did there. And then I didn't like Times of India, frankly saying, app, working on it, because this product was not successful.
Correct.
And Times of India, I mean, 2 weeks, and I saw, I was doing celebratory bakery gallery.
Okay.
I kind of didn't like that approach. I was thinking like, I was wasting my time there. Henceforth, I came across this amazing product called Mesh.ai, and something in HR tech, which I've never done actually in the past. So I happily took this job, and currently it's been like 2 years now.
Correct.
Yeah, in 2 years I've been working here.
Makes sense. And I think you have, I think, at least 15 plus experience. How much years of experience you have got now?
In total 18.
Total 18, yeah, too long time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
but briefly, I did not do. I think I was in a project management role for a while, and to
Yeah,
sales actually when I was doing my own company. So I was designing, but then 3 years in between, I did not do design. So
nice.
18. I mean, yeah. So 15 years will be my design experience, if you say
Correct.
15
And
years.
as Kishore also mentioned during his introduction, I mean, I met Kishore in Direct when we were working on the same product called Talk.2. It was a communication product. And there I found, Kishore to be very actually, in detail, like, whenever there is any issue, he would try to understand. And that's where I really, I mean, that was my first interaction with Kishore. And like, fortunately, that was my first job also in my whole career. And yeah, I think that's where our journey started. So, yeah, I think thanks, Kishore, for your introduction. And to tell everyone, the rest of the agenda will be talking about various things about UX, and I have a lot of questions from myself, which I'll be hitting on Kishore, and then I'll open the floor for all of you. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. So please be ready with your questions. If you feel like, post them in the chat box so that you don't lose them. But yeah, we'll open the floor maybe towards the end of the session and we'll discuss your questions. So I'll start maybe with the starting one. So I always feel like and even when I connect with many people, even during I'm myself as an SD been for a long time, so we always feel what UX people do. We at the high level we know that okay, they are designing, they're coming up with screens and all. But if I ask from your perspective, you've been a UX person from since the beginning of your career, what do you feel from your lens? What's the daily role or daily job of a UX person? What do they do? What's the role is about exactly?
Sure. So it is completely depends on what kind of organization you're working with.
Okay.
Okay, you could work with a very big organization, but
Okay.
not mature teams. So again, I'm just categorizing. I've worked with different companies, but then luckily or unluckily, I've worked with even the bigger companies of the world. I've worked in the very small or very nascent stage products.
Right.
At service now, even I was working with a very big company
Right.
or even Freshworks. So
Right.
this two companies, I'll say it was very early stage products or very nascent stage. The product was not mature enough.
Right.
So I mean, again, as I said, depending on what team you are working, what kind of organization you are working, your processes will differ.
Right.
There's no set processes actually.
Right.
But then if you say the typical process includes initially you research, which
Right.
research means, let's say, if there is a, I mean, there could be two sort of metrics you want to achieve. First of all, it is important to define what you want to achieve,
Right.
okay, with this feature or this product or this solution,
Right.
and hence what the design is the outcome of that.
Right.
So let's say maybe you want to achieve business metrics,
Right.
okay, you want to achieve a behavioral metric.
Right.
Let's say people are not able to make a transaction, for
Right.
example, generic user case. So that's a it could be it is a behavioral metrics actually.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. uh, I don't like this app. Okay.
Right.
That's a qualitative metric.
Right.
Okay, I don't like, so a lot of people don't like the app for xy reason. Okay.
Right.
We can break down the reason, but then
Correct.
that's a qualitative feedback.
Right.
Quantity will be let's say number of people were not able to make a transaction on this product.
Correct.
Okay, so xyz reason,
Right.
this could be thing. uh, Business metric could be, I want my revenue to from go from x to y.
Right.
So what do you want to achieve actually, as from the business point of view, from the user point of view? Okay, it is very important to define that. If you are not able to define that, it is going to be very challenging you to kind of create the solution, because I mean there are like a lot of product. So currently where we are actually, right,
Right.
we are a very let's say in very nascent stage. It's been
Right.
2 years. I think it's been 4 years. The organization is in existence. I
Right.
have been I've spent, as I said, almost 2 years now.
Right.
Yeah, first March is, I think, yeah, first March already, yeah, happened. So I joined on first March, so 2 years now.
Right.
So I mean, as I said, very important. So secondly is that if you don't understand the metrics, you will be just catching up on what others do. It is very easy to, especially in B2C, right? It's very too easy to understand that, okay, this company is doing this feature, we should
Right.
also do this feature.
Right.
It's very easy to take screenshot and create features around it,
Right.
okay, following your branding, but then you're not trying to define the business value of it or the
Right.
user value of it.
Right.
It is very important to follow a company, but it should be like what your users want actually. So
Right.
mm, mm, let's say there is a user. I mean, I see a lot of e-commerce which has provided a camera search of a product. So let's say
Right.
if I see you wearing this t-shirt, I like your t-shirt, I take a photo of you and search on the you know
Internet. Right.
search
Yeah.
on Amazon actually, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Does other companies provide that? Do their users know
Right.
need those search options, features? That is one of the things. So if their users are not looking for that, uh, you know then maybe they are not required to
Correct.
have it in the platform.
Right.
Let's say there are a lot of e-commerce platform with different sort of things, right? So maybe I am looking for a furniture. Maybe I'll go to some place and okay, I like this furniture. Maybe possibly I'll take a photo of this. I don't see a lot of furniture e-commerce platforms providing that feature.
Right.
Right? But Amazon and Mintra, wherein people mostly buy their clothing,
Right.
just provide that in terms of fashion and other things,
Right.
versus other e-commerce platforms, for example.
Right.
So that is the thing actually. So if you understand your user needs it, uh, please have it. In case you think that this is useful for the users, have it. So they're like, some of the things are necessary,
Right.
or things are good to have.
Right.
How do you differentiate the list of features in terms of business value, in terms of user value, is very important. Sorry, I got
No, no. I think you're in a very good way. I think it's this information is very helpful. So one of the things that you told was is the research part. I think this is all. I think comes under research. What you really need to build into the product, right? So
yeah.
once the let's say UX person has figured out that okay, that needs to go in the product. I mean, what they do? Do they do next?
So
Like,
that is one thing. You do have a lot of companies don't allow you the scope of doing an extensive
right.
research. But
Right.
then what you could do is do a secondary research. When I say a secondary research, so just research are of two types: a primary research, and two is secondary research. Secondary research are mostly like you do a competitive evaluation, you do a go and online, and let's say you're creating a, for example, I said, right, search, take a photo and search your products.
Hmm.
uh, if I have to design that for my product, right,
Right. Right.
I'll have to see what are the other products do similar sort of feature or
Right.
experience. I'll go to feature other product, I'll do a Google search possibly. Okay,
Right.
we'll also have to understand that, okay, what is the user feedback on it. Okay,
Right.
possibly
Right.
let's see if I see Amazon does it.
Right.
I need to do a research that, okay, does what kind of feedback user has on for Amazon who has successfully implemented such feature,
Right. Right.
uh, or what other products are doing it. So I'll possibly create a trail of the screens and
Right.
then just understand what is the workflow of it.
Got it.
Okay, I'll do I'll go into the Play Store feedback or do Google actually and understand what the feedback on is. If it is there, I may not
Right.
be able to talk to customer upfront. Maybe
Correct.
that is not a budget. But then if I can do that, if I can do a research upfront, I will
Right.
go out and seek you know seek of do a research, talk to potential users, that okay, or let's say users that, okay, how this feature is helpful to the user? Okay,
Right.
or is it
Right.
even necessary for my product?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
something of this sort. So that's a part of research. Then basis that I'll create a empathy mapping actually, which which understands like what user thinks, what you can user understand. Before that, we I'll do I'll collect all the feedback from some, different users, and
Right.
try to catch up the patterns actually. Okay, and basis the patterns, I can I can get an insight that okay, this is a similar pattern. I can kind of make a group of it, and
Right.
take out the similar sort of pattern out of what user is looking for. Okay.
Makes sense.
The second thing is like creating a empathy mapping, that what user
Right.
do, what user thinks. It will give a complete insight of what user behavior is. Okay.
Right. Right.
Maybe I know my user well, so
Right.
I've already done the user profiling. If I have not done, this exercise will help me create a user profiling.
Makes
I'll
sense.
do I'll do a mind mapping, which creates a structure of the entire workflow.
Hmm.
Then I'll possibly do a quick wireframing, so that before going to a design, I should be able to, let's say, come to a conclusion that okay, this is the workflow is going to be like, and get
Right.
agreement on that. And then
Right.
if you have a design system in place, the visual designs nowadays has become pretty easier to do with
Right.
all the design systems in place. But then workflow wise, it is very important to make a get into agreement that this is the need. And then users, designers has to test their solutions actually with the with the customers. I mean, it's
Correct.
like you want to get internal approval, or you can also get your customer or your user feedback as well. I mean,
Correct.
depends what your timelines are. And
Right.
once that is done, you uh, you implement your feedback from users or other stakeholders, and then you can release that. Designers are also included to collaborate with developers,
Right.
wherein they have to understand. Now with Figma and all, actually things are easier. The
Right.
assets and all, actually, developer can easily take that assets. Now, initially, when I mean, earlier days used to create PNGs and other things.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you create SVGs, it is easier to for developers to pick that SVG. And SVGs are mostly the coded
Correct.
graphics, so
Right.
it's very easier to implement that into developer into your code, and it
Correct.
doesn't make your code the product bulky as well, the feature bulky.
Right. Right.
Then you do a UAT of your developed version,
Right.
release that product,
Right.
a web or percentage release actually basis, how the company's approach is. A lot of companies do a
Right.
percentage release to seek feedback, or control
Correct.
release to limited customer. If you're SaaS, then you kind of, let's say this customer has asked for this feature, so maybe i'll,
Right.
I'll release the feature to him,
Right.
and see what his feedback is, right?
Right.
If it is a B2C company, I'll do a percentage release of 1% release upfront, and see what the feedback of the user is. Okay,
Right.
basically that, if there is a negative feedback, I'll not release to the complete audience.
Correct.
If
Correct.
the positive feedback, then possibly I'll do the 10% release, and eventually 50 and 100% to the
Makes
entire
sense.
customer, and then see how they do actually.
Right.
So that is how typical product and designers involvement is at a lot of places.
Makes sense. And I do remember that time. I think even I used to run after you when we were in iOS app. We used to get different sized PNGs. Nowadays, when you work, actually, you just get one SVG, as you said, and
Yes.
I think you just put the size, and because it's a coded
Nine,
one, so you
sorry,
not.
what was that? Nine paths. I don't recall what was the graphic called in Android. Nine path, I think. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. So yeah, makes sense. Thanks a lot, Kishore, for explaining the whole UI UX person's role. I think that clarifies a lot of things. So a follow-up question I have on this is, as you also mentioned, it's a very collaborative thing between product and UX. And even I have seen in my career wherever I've worked, product and UX goes very hand in hand, right? But then at the same time, we see in any company you have one person as a product manager, another person as a UX designer, right? So is it like, I mean, that's what is that. like confusing me. If the role is same, then why two people? And what are the, if they are two people, then what's the distribution of the work? How the work gets distributed, or is it like there is some overlap? So what's your thought on it? Like, I'm trying to understand the difference between a product person, meaning when I say product person, meaning product manager, especially that role, and a UX designer role. What's the difference between the two?
So I mean, a lot of this has been an ongoing discussion, and a lot of companies are not clear about what the product's role are. Okay,
Okay, okay,
um, and a lot of product managers themselves don't know what their roles are. To tell you frankly,
right,
I've worked with a lot of product managers; they don't know what their roles are.
right,
So, product manager is a representation of the business.
right,
They deal with user requirement and metrics.
right,
Okay. But then I see a lot of product managers get into the UX role. Actually, they start
correct,
creating wireframes.
right,
That's not the role they should be doing. If they are doing that, they don't understand their role is.
correct, correct,
Okay. If you ask me, a very honest answer is that.
correct,
Uh, but then the other side of is that where the companies are, they do the companies have a, the budget to have a, a designers uh, doing specified role.
right,
Okay.
right,
So a lot of startups don't have that budget to hire product managers, product designers to do specified roles.
makes sense,
In that sense, in that cases, it is good that someone is, sharing the work.
makes sense, got it,
So if and a lot of companies focus on designers doing a good visual side of things.
right,
Okay. Then they asking designers to understand the product well.
right,
So I mean, I've heard a lot of companies, I mean, or a lot of product managers, or a lot of discussions happens that okay, the designer doesn't understand the product well, right?
hmm, hmm, hmm,
They don't get a scope of understanding what product is doing, because that exposure doesn't happen.
right,
People can go and look into other competitors,
right,
but then they never get to understand what is the customer requirements are. Okay,
right, right,
because that is always decided by the product managers. The customer, I mean, the designers are never on the customer calls.
right,
Don't understand what customer or user is looking for. It is always, I mean, a lot of companies, what they do is okay, so they never talk to the customer.
hmm,
Okay, and especially happen a lot of B2C space.
right,
The kind of feedback comes from is you don't actually talk to the customer. uh, the feedback comes from what is what is shared on social media,
right,
shared on Play Store.
right,
Yeah. What is the feedback they're giving if you're rating process in your app, right?
right,
How did you like this experience, for example, right?
right,
That
right,
rating will decide, okay, this is the customer feedback. But then they don't actually talk to customer and understand, okay, why do you rated us, let's say, 1 out of 5?
right,
Maybe he was frustrated with a lot of things. Maybe he did not communicated that upfront.
right,
Okay.
right,
A lot of I may be downloading this product,
right,
but then possibly I've not never transacted on this product. Or
makes
maybe
sense,
I let's say I went to Mintra and I I wanted to buy, or let's say I saw a T-shirt, for example. Okay, I shortlisted it, but I never made a transaction.
right,
Okay, now maybe product manager, or the team at Mintra will understand. Okay, this guy added shortlisted this product, but they never made, never did a transaction.
right,
Maybe I like this, but then maybe I wanted to buy it in a specific time. I may not have a my budget doesn't allow me to do so right now.
right, right,
But it will be like, okay, transaction not done. It's not a UX issue. It's not a design issue. It is something with the psychology of that user, right?
right,
And
right,
if that company did not talk to me, w- they never understand what my challenges are. Maybe that's a budgeting issue on my end.
right,
Okay,
right,
maybe I this is a scenario wherein people are losing job. There are a lot of layoffs happening, right? I'm more concerned about saving my money than buying stuff on Amazon or Mintra, right?
right,
But what Mintra does says, saw that okay, this guy has added these things in the
but did not
cart,
buy,
or shortlisted it, but they did not made a purchase, so he did not
yeah,
do a transaction. So
right,
it's not a design issue. It has to do with psychology of the user. So it is very important if Mintra would reach out to me and ask me, okay, you added it to the card, but then did not do a transaction. What was the reason? I'll say, okay, I don't have money right now, right? It is as simple as that. A lot of companies don't do that
Right.
until I'm pissed off with maybe a transaction or something. I go to on social media, or maybe I'll go to the Play Store, or I'll just go to the customer feedback and post it. So that's one of the things actually. What that is one of the way I share my feedback with the experience of this product.
Right.
Maybe I did not do that. I did not do the transaction.
Right.
So
Right.
companies doesn't understand why he is not doing the transaction. Okay, so that has to be understood first.
Right. Makes sense. Sounds good. I think we have understood a lot from you, like how the UX role works and differences between PM and all. Now let's talk about. I mean, maybe how do you build a career in UX? So maybe I'll start with. I mean, again, the first step of the career, which is the applying for the jobs, right? So,
Sorry,
um,
before we go ahead, I'll add more things to the PM pieces. Sorry,
right.
I tend to get into a lot of details, but then you need to put me on path. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
so regarding PM's role, right? Sorry. So PM has to do a lot with business metrics.
Right. Right.
Okay,
Right.
what is the, let's say, if this product has to achieve X revenue within this quarter or next year, right?
Right.
What is that is required
Hmm.
to achieve that? That's
Hmm.
PM role. Okay, did we achieve that? What was the user traction on this product? That's the PM role. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
what
Hmm.
is the scope? Let's say what has to be done, for example. Okay,
Right.
a lot of companies allow you designers to talk to the customers.
Right.
Okay. Designers would create a affinity diagram,
Right.
uh, and collate all the feedback. Now they have to collaborate with the PM and development team, because someone has to take a decision that, okay, what is the first feature, for example, they have to pick up, because designer would always focus on the experience side of it, like making things beautiful, making it a huddle less design. Maybe business does not require that to be done.
Right.
So that's a PM call to make a judgment that, okay, should I take a first feature, okay, or should I take the second feature? What is the feature which is a feasible for them
Right.
to implement, because there is a development cost and effort happens.
Right.
Does the team is capable of taking such a big feature,
Right.
or should we basis of the timeline, what is the first feature basis user requirement they could take? So that priorities are set by the PMs. A lot of
Right.
PMs don't understand this. They are most A lot of PMs are involved in doing UX, wireframings and other things, which is not required from their side.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
sorry. Let's go to the next question you asked.
Yeah. So basically, I was asking about the. I mean, I was trying to switch the gears to career aspects now. Meaning, if somebody's trying to, let's say, start the career in UX.
Hmm.
So let's try to understand various things, like how to apply for jobs, resume preparation, interviews. I will try to understand each and every bit. So maybe let's start from the application.
Yeah.
So how do you figure out the jobs? Is it like you will use LinkedIn and all, or is there any other better place for UX people, like a dedicated maybe platform for UX, or is it just LinkedIn you use just need to apply for the
I
jobs?
mean, now a lot of companies or a lot of hiring agencies actually, right?
Right.
They have created their own platforms.
Right.
Could reach out there as well.
Right.
LinkedIn has always been the go-to place actually.
Right.
But then a lot of, a lot of jobs doesn't happen just from LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Um, the best approach is to, if you know someone,
Right.
right? I've never went to LinkedIn and applied it for a job, to tell you frankly.
Right.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Okay.
I think, yeah, yeah, only one time I did that.
Right.
Only once at Freshworks,
Right.
because I did not knew anyone at Freshworks.
Right.
But except that, I've never applied for a job on LinkedIn.
Right. Right.
It is always a referral. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
if I know Udit, I have worked with Udit, so I'll ask Udit, Udit, I'm looking for a job. Can you help? Or if
Right.
I don't know, even actually, I'll possibly reach out to the design manager
Right.
of the
Right.
company, and
Right.
I'll ask if you're hiring for this role.
Right, right, right,
Okay.
right,
That's more helpful compared to seeking for going and applying at LinkedIn, because again that goes to the recruiters.
right,
Okay. uh, the recruiter and the hiring manager sees things in a very different way,
right,
especially in India.
right,
I have applied for jobs outside India as well, where recruiters understand designers. I mean, at least they understand what you have done in metrics and other pieces. They're more trained uh, 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 compared to India.
right,
Uh, so that is one piece is important. So in India, if you're applying for a job, better you reach out to the design manager. Possibly he or she can direct you to the recruiter, or email, where you can drop an email, right? Uh, Possibly you can ask that what this role requires from the design manager itself
right,
over
right.
LinkedIn actually. So this is how you could do that.
Makes sense. I think that's a very fair advice. I think knowing someone personally in the company and then
I mean,
applying
a lot
anywhere
of companies operate that way. If you
makes
know
sense.
someone, they will prefer a referral compared to someone coming on applying through a process, which you maybe, as I said, recruiters scan things from different perspective.
Right.
Uh, a design manager, a hiring manager will see a resume from different perspective. Regarding your question regarding how to prepare, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that
So
would be
even before that, I mean, before that, I want to talk about the resume part, as you also mentioned, right? Resume is an important area. So before going to the preparation and interviews process, how about resume preparation? What do you think? How can someone create a better resume? Maybe especially again focused on UX. What do you think? What are the keywords that should go in a resume? What are kind of projects they should put in a resume? The goal is how can they increase their chances of shortlisting for UX
sure.
role?
So applying requires two things. Okay. A, your resume, your CV, and
Right.
another thing is your portfolio.
Right. Right.
So portfolio is even more important, wherein you create, your projects.
Right.
So again, the two kind of people will are there when you create portfolio. Say someone who has not yet worked in the industry,
Right.
or someone who has worked in the industry,
Right.
right? So someone who has worked in the industry, his portfolio will be very different.
Hmm.
uh, Someone who has not done work in the industry, his portfolio possibly will be more of a passion project, or the project he has
Right.
done, showcase
Yeah.
that okay, this is my thought process are.
Correct.
uh,
Right.
when you prepare for this interviews and applying for job, it is very important, if you have worked in the industry,
Right.
it is very important that you show projects which are your real life projects, that you have worked for a company,
Okay.
and not your just ideas. You can just have a some projects which are your ideas, but then they don't prefer that.
Okay. Okay.
They would prefer ideas which you have worked in a company. Now challenges with those ideas are, or those projects are, a lot of companies don't allow you to post that upfront online. Okay.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
I've faced such issues actually, and I've had a fights with HRs and other things, that why can't I want to get a job, and I can apply, I can use this the work I've done, that
Right.
uh, to get a new job. You can't prevent me getting a new job.
Right.
And how do I, the typical hiring process
Right.
is,
How do you check your skills then? Yeah, as a UX person, you have
yeah.
those are your artifacts, right? So yeah.
So, and I see a lot of people posting their portfolio on Behance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not advisable in such a
Okay.
case.
Okay.
You better create a website.
Okay.
Okay. And if you can create a better website, there are a lot of easy ways actually.
Right.
Now Framer provides a very great way to create a simple website, and you can create, use Figma and Framer to create animations as well.
Right.
Can be interesting. So that way you can create your website, but then it is important, and then you can apply password as well,
Right.
if companies are not allowing you to showcase that publicly,
Makes sense.
right? Or you can just link it to a PDF,
Right.
create a PDF separately,
Right.
and add a link separately on your website.
Right.
Okay, so this way you are not publishing on a public platform. uh, Behind, as I said, a lot of people just post dribble shots and Behance, right?
right,
Those are the days, those are the platforms which were used way back in 2015 to up to 2017. uh, those has gone away.
right,
uh, People, and I see a lot of, when I was recently hiring for a design role, and I saw a lot of people were posting their portfolios on Behance and all actually. Now these are not the days actually you should post portfolios on Behance. The other thing is regarding resume, right? uh, Resume has to be very clean. If you are very experienced, something like I struggle a lot actually last time when I was preparing for a job.
right,
Because I was, as I said, I was an over experienced IC,
right.
and I had a 3-page resume with
Okay,
all my achievements.
okay,
And I have a friend who's a recruiter, Sanjay Rawal. Yes,
okay,
he said, okay, your resume looks like a resume of a director of design.
okay,
No, you are not. Okay. And uh, and if you show this resume, so hiring managers would not prefer someone who has worked a lot and become an IC.
right,
Everyone becomes insecure of such resumes.
right,
Sorry, I'm being very vocal.
right,
So you need to cut short your resume, and likely so. uh, if you are a, you know try to restrict your resume in one page. Okay, but then make it clean actually. So you could possibly, the way you could do it, important to add your initials at the top, your names, your contact details, uh, uh, a brief intro about yourself at the
right,
top somewhere, maybe a liner,
right,
um, uh, a link to portfolio.
right,
Very important, it has to be on the top.
right,
I see a lot of resumes actually wherein the portfolios are placed somewhere at the bottom somewhere. It's very hard to, hard to see, okay, where the portfolios are.
right,
A lot of hiring managers don't want to spend that time
right,
figuring out where the portfolio is. lot
right,
of what they do, a lot of job appliers don't link their portfolios.
right, right.
So it's like basic. I mean, I've seen a lot of people sending me JPGs.
Okay,
How am I supposed to click and then open a link?
right, right,
Right? It has to be PDF.
right,
So the way it is, you can link a PDF in whatever tool you are trying to create, or you can just create a your portfolio and come to the PDF Adobe editor and add a link in your PDF.
makes sense.
Okay. So at least I should click and go to your website or your whatever, wherever you have posted your resume.
Portfolio.
So then I
Mm.
don't have to like type, and I don't want to spend time on that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Many times resume links are very complicated. They
makes
can't
sense.
even open,
Yeah,
right? If I start typing it. So it is easy that you link your portfolio. Now regarding the content of the resume, right?
right.
The content of the resume has to be uh, what projects you have worked, okay,
Hmm, hmm,
and what is the impact of the project?
hmm, hmm, hmm,
What is the
hmm.
impact of the work you have done? I mean, it is very important you communicate that. I've seen a lot of people just put their projects, okay, or detail of the projects, right? A lot of detail. I mean, it shouldn't be detail actually. It shouldn't be a lot of verbose or paragraphs. Make it bullet point. It makes it easy to read. Make it in a way wherein you name the project, and possibly you can make the impact on the right, so left versus right, sort of the way you want to create it. Your overall skill has to be somewhere. Maybe you can just create a I mean, think of a 3-column layout.
Right,
2 columns are your of your job details, where
right,
you have worked,
right,
and the impact of it.
right,
And the right hand side, possibly you can include include details about your expertise actually.
right,
So
right,
like there is expertise in uh, let's say designing, product designing, visual designing, research, tools like Figma, other things as well.
right,
Or maybe you have, let's say, won some awards, accolades. Maybe you're a speaker, maybe you're a podcaster.
right.
Okay, maybe you've written this article which has been published. So all those things has to be on the right.
Hmm.
So it is very easy for me to differentiate. Okay, this is your work experience, and this is your accomplishments,
Right.
or this is your skill set.
Right. Right. Makes sense.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that gives a good idea about resume. So coming back to your question, which you were trying to answer, right? Like preparation. I think one question also comes from Sukanya in the chat. Like how to prepare for the interviews. Meaning, and I also, as I said, that links to the question, which is from the attendees. I would like to learn and start a career in UX designing. So maybe I would like to understand from both the perspectives. That is somebody who is just starting now, right? And we can maybe talk about three personas. One person who is a maybe person who is in UX, doing some design learning, design, some doing some education in design area. Now they want to enter into the corporates, right? So how do they prepare? If somebody who is not in design, right? Let's say I'm an SG, I'm working as a engineer for some time, and I want to move to a design now. How would I do it? And maybe if experienced person wants to just make a switch. So talking about multiple people, what do you think will be the starting points, and how do they enter into design? What are
I'll show you one book. I've got a lot of books here.
yeah.
This is a book called Design of Everyday Thing. If you have not read it,
Okay.
be if you're a developer, you are a PM, or anyone actually, if you want to switch career
Right.
as well,
Right.
read this book first.
Okay.
Okay. Why this book helps you understand how to think like a designer.
Okay.
Okay. I've seen a lot of people don't think like a
Right.
designer.
Right.
Okay, they execute like a designer.
Okay.
Okay, it's a difference. What is the difference? Uh, there are few parameters basis which you should understand before coming to
Right.
design. I've seen a lot of designers, they know tool well.
Right.
Okay, they will create interfaces,
Right.
but they don't know the technicalities of it.
Right.
The technicalities as in, uh, let's say I'm designing for web,
Right.
or I'm designing for mobile.
Right.
Okay, now there is a difference between designing for web versus designing for mobile web,
Hmm.
or designing for iPad,
Right.
or designing for native platforms.
Right.
Okay, native platform as in iOS and Android. Now Windows has gone in from the scenario, but then there's a difference between the designing for iOS and
Right.
Android. Now things have become more simpler. Uh, so it is very easy, important you understand actually what is the limitation of this
Right.
platform for which you're designing
Right.
for. I've seen a lot of people who are designing just for the sake of designing. They don't know, how to scale up or scale down their
Right.
design. What are the best practices of designing for this platform?
Right.
Let's say what is the size. Let's say if I'm designing for mobile, okay, I need to understand what is the size of the frame I have to
Right.
take. I mean the canvas
Right.
side. What is the size of the
Right.
font I need to take?
Right.
What is the size of the icon has to be
Right.
there? What is my minimum tappable area?
Right.
Okay, without even understanding these things, people start designing.
Correct. Right.
Okay, it is very important that you understand all those things.
Hmm.
Okay, it is very important that you understand first. I mean, this is a technical aspect of
Right.
it. Even before you start designing, then there is a design thinking, as I said, right? Think like a designer. So it is very important that you think like a designer. So you need to understand, okay, how should I make a design simple, okay, easy for user to interact with.
Hmm.
This book, designing the design of everyday things, will help you think like a
Hmm.
designer. Okay,
Hmm.
how could I make things easy for the user,
Hmm.
right? it is it is very
Hmm.
important you do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, Again, if you're designing for for the consumer companies versus a SaaS company,
Right.
right? There are
Right.
differences again.
Right.
So if you are if you want to design for a SaaS, the approach is very
Right.
different.
Right.
uh, if you're designing for consumer companies, it's very different
Right.
actually. If you are designing for, let's say, low literacy
Right.
people, approach has to be very
Right.
different. If you're designing for a niche audience, it is very important. If you're designing for
Right.
kids, it is very different
Right.
approach. So you have to understand how does, before even come to creating or making your hand dirty with the
Right.
pixels. It is very important you understand all those
Makes
things.
sense.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, as I said, switching, right?
Correct.
First thing is this. Second is technicality of the platform is very important. Okay, if you don't understand it, or you will always make designs which are not ready to implement.
Okay.
I mean, there will be a lot of backfires from the developer side, because you will create a world which is not, which can't be implemented,
Hmm.
or your designs or your sizes will always be like, okay, this size cannot be implemented because
Hmm.
this is not the platform provides.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
need to understand what the platform you're designing for,
Hmm.
what their limitations are, and design accordingly.
Hmm.
Sorry, I've got all.
No problem.
So so it is very important.
Hmm.
Second thing. uh, Third thing is, of course, taking a design, your visual design has to be important actually.
Hmm.
At least in India, um, a lot of companies or big companies let you, when they hire for very specific roles. So let's say they hire for a user researcher,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? uh, that's a different specific role. They're like interaction designers or architects, UX
Right.
architects. That's a different role. The visual designer is very different role. The user tester is a very different role. The prototyper who can create a, click through wireframes or click through designs,
Right.
maybe through HTML and all. That's a different role. There is a now the we call as a product designer.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's one, one person having all those skill set.
Hmm.
That's a new norm
Hmm.
in the market.
Hmm. Hmm.
As there's a lot of layoffs,
Hmm.
companies are cutting their cost.
Hmm.
It is very important that you have all the skill sets.
Hmm.
Um, it is, I mean, I learned, have heard a lot of people saying that, okay, don't be jack of all things and be expert of all things. Of course, be expert of one thing,
Right.
but then it is very important in today's market, or in fact, always actually, you understand what each process are actually. You
Right.
have to you have to be jack of all things.
Correct.
Okay, but then try yourself to be a master of one.
Right.
So as I said, transitioning visual designs or visual communications are very important things. Nowadays, people have to understand the tools as well.
Hmm.
uh, Earlier when I started, right, we used to use Photoshop,
Hmm.
and then there was one amazing tool called Fireworks,
Hmm.
which Adobe acquired Macromedia.
Hmm.
And I shouldn't be saying bad things about Adobe possibly on online, but then Adobe acquired Macromedia and then killed it
Hmm.
and added it to Photoshop.
Hmm.
I was really pained by that.
Hmm.
Uh, Sketch came in, which was again a version of this
Right.
Fireworks. Sketch, but then had their own limitations
Correct.
actually, of collaborating with developers and all. But then Figma, right? Figma is a new tool which is being used. Figma and XD from Adobe
Right.
are the tools which are being used actually in the current market. But then Figma is preferred because of, the kind of tool it is, and the features it
Right.
provides. Uh, so if you're using Figma, right, it is very important to understand the tool as well.
Hmm.
I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn that, okay, tools are not important. Your skills, thought process as designers are. No, sorry, I disagree with you. Post such information. Tools are also as much important uh, than
Understanding. Yeah.
understanding your skills as a designer, because tools, if you know how to use tool
Right.
effectively, you'll be much more productive. You will be able to do your work
Right.
faster compared to not knowing the tool.
Right. Right.
So that tool is also important to learn.
Makes sense.
And tool is not the first thing. Your thought process, your skill sets are.
Right.
But then tool is also as much important. 40% is tool, 30% is your skill. Sorry, 60% is your skill set, and 40% is your
Good.
tool.
So next time, next item is tools. So you said multiple things that you, as a designer, I need to learn. So how do they map to the interview process? Meaning, what sort of, let's say if I'm applying for a engineer, sorry, a designer role somewhere, right? So what will be the set of interviews that will happen, and what are the expectations from them?
Just a moment. Um, Expectations start from the way the time you apply.
Right.
First of all, uh, you need to read what the job requirement
Hmm.
is. Okay, are you suitable for the job requirement? I mean, I've seen a lot of job requirements not that clear
Right.
enough, because as I said, lot of maybe hiring manager doesn't draft those job
Hmm.
requirements. A lot of HRs
Hmm.
does. Maybe they don't understand the requirement of the today's
Right.
industry, or maybe someone else does
Right.
it. So, but then it is very important that you understand what job requirement
Right.
is. If they're putting all those pieces, right, the keywords, do you understand that? Okay, do you align to
Right.
that is important.
Right.
So that is important. uh, Again, it depends on company to
Right.
company. Okay, because the job description will help you understand what they are looking
Right.
for. If this is what you, and if this is what you're looking forward to,
Right.
irrespective of what company this is for. Maybe it is for the biggest company in the world, but maybe the person who posted the job has not due diligence of what the industry requirement
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
I've seen. I don't want to name the companies right now because again, this is not a platform to do
Right.
so. But then I've seen a lot of a lot of companies posting job requirements without even knowing what is required in
Right.
the
So
industry,
let's
right?
talk about a maybe general scenario, right? Let's say, big companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, ServiceNow. You worked with even, some of those big companies also, like Freshworks, you worked, ServiceNow, you worked. So if I talk about a, I would say mid-level person, like 7, 8 years experience, who is looking for a, senior designer role, what do you think? What kind of roles? Like for example, in SG, we have like one coding round, one high level design, low level design. There's set rounds that we have generally. Again, as you said, some company to company it varies, but that's a general criteria. What do you think is a general pattern in UX in terms of rounds?
Yeah. So I mean, again, I say I have applied. I mean, I've interviewed for Facebook, Google,
Right.
Amazon, Microsoft, and much more companies. But then I can tell you their processes are very different.
Okay.
First of all, again, uh, um, so Facebook's approach is first of all you'll have to have a portfolio round.
Okay.
Okay. You have to showcase your work.
Right.
They have got a limited time,
Right.
um, and then they will ask you to review the app, one of the apps.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. um, uh, I mean, it could be any international app you can review.
Right.
So the reviews will happen on, you know, you have to critique it
Right.
actually. So critique, how do you critique a app,
Right.
right?
Right.
That is also important for people or the job seeker to understand.
Right.
Okay, so there are like few parameters. Uh, okay, few parameters basis which the review happens.
Hmm.
So first of all, how usable actually,
Hmm.
you know. So there is a term called heuristic, heuristic techniques actually.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so heuristic techniques, there are like several heuristic techniques
Okay.
basis which you generally evaluate.
How good the
If
design
from
is.
from
Okay.
huh?
You evaluate how good the design is, right?
Yeah, so I mean, there are like some basic parameters basis which you evaluate your design.
Right.
So how easy it is you to use, or other parameters. So you can learn about that.
Right.
But then in general, right? In general, the parameters are, let's say, if I come on an app,
Right.
right? How easy or hard was is me to come on board?
Hmm.
Okay, was the onboarding easy for me? How much step it took me to come on board,
Right.
right? Uh, was it easy to discover the
Right.
features?
Right.
Okay. What is the number of features? Possibly uh, app X provides, let's say, 5 features.
Right.
Like app 10 provides 10 features, right? So maybe these 10 features were important, which app X did not provide it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, as I said, onboarding, discovery of features and number of features, and then how easy or hard was for me to make a transaction on this, uh, you know, on this
right,
product. The intent of the product can be different from, from the business to business. But then, why was I on this app?
right.
Task which was I was supposed to achieve or accomplish, where I was able to achieve, with simplicity on this product. So these are some of the things additional to heuristic validation is
Right.
important.
So it's like first thing was like, you will get this app review done. What is the other round then? After this, after you clear this round, what is the next round that will happen?
I mean, it depends. As I said, I've never passed these two rounds on Facebook, so I can't say the next rounds. But then in Google, I can tell you. So then portfolio rounds happen,
Portfolio. Okay.
and then they would uh, give you
Okay.
whiteboardings. Whiteboarding is about doing a task, online.
Right.
They will understand how do you approach a task. I do the same thing with my job seekers as
Okay.
well, interviewers. So I give them a task which is relevant to SaaS platform, and then I ask them to think
Right.
aloud and do at the same time, so I can see the screen. It helps me understand that, okay, can he or she can really think us, what I intend to think them.
Got it.
uh, can they think SaaS? Can they, I mean, can they think, first of all, SaaS is not a consumer one-sided transaction.
Right.
SaaS is a multi, it's like service design. Okay. So they're like different touch
Right.
points. Okay. And there will be different user on those touch
Right.
points. Can this person think that, okay, what the different users are,
Right.
what the touch points are, these users are, and what their respective interactions are to make this entire product
Makes
successful,
sense.
or can they make the transaction? So this is what SaaS is. So this is how I see it. And then apart from that, the processes you
Right.
followed, actually, a lot of times, it's not important. And again, companies to companies, a lot of companies focus more on processes, the way you solve the problem. Okay, do you do a research, what kind of approaches you follow, versus not coming to the solution. But then it is also important,
Right.
right? You can't be leaving the solution half baked and, you know getting away. But then a lot of companies also focus on processes and not the solutions. We are not that big company, so it is very important for us to also solve the problem, actually, so that we understand, okay, can you think like a solution provider.
Got it. So I think we are up time, but I would just take, 5-10 more minutes if you are fine, Kishore. Would like to take the
We can continue next week if you are available. I can keep on talking about a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
just
things.
want 5-10 more minutes because I just want to cover the questions which people have asked. Is that okay with you, Kishore? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's go through the questions quickly. Maybe the people have asked. Uh, so here, I think you have answered though almost every bit of it, but I think little difference here is about the leadership roles, especially, right? So though you have said like, okay, as a designer, what you need, as a future designer, what you need to learn, how the interviews happen. But how about leadership roles? What difference maybe you will see if somebody is looking for a design leadership role, like you yourself become a director, right? Which is a very senior leadership role. So what do you think somebody should start doing? Maybe somebody should look for in their day-to-day job if they want to approach for design leadership role.
Sure. I mean, I've had this thing, and it was a challenge, actually, proving yourself that okay, I am capable of leading a team. It has been a challenge in my life, actually, because I was never serious about my
Right.
leadership. I was very sporadic about my choices. I was always passionate. I always thought I'm a builder. I'm a maker,
Right.
and that is what I was made me over experience, I
uh,
say. That is, I take a fun of
right.
that word.
Right.
That is what I was called. You are over experience, I
Right.
say. So, but then seriously, mm, uh, it is very important that you know the technical side of it. Okay,
Right.
because you will be put in a very uncomfortable situation if you don't understand the technicalities of the solutions you are creating,
Right.
right?
Right.
So uh, you have to understand the, through and through of what you're doing.
Hmm.
Okay, which sort of company you are working with. But then, first of all, design technicalities. Can you follow the processes? You can't help others do the work if you don't know the
Hmm.
work.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
First of all, that is important. So if you, if you want to help others to do the work, you need to know how to
right,
do the
right,
work first. That is one thing. Okay. Second, then, can you absorb all sort of feedback coming from different stakeholders? Your team member can be may not be comfort you may not be comfortable to work with your team member
right,
possibly, right? So, and everyone has a reason. Actually, you have to understand
right,
that.
right,
Okay, there's nothing without a reason in the world.
correct,
So can you absorb his opinions on different
right,
things? You can't. Then you don't have a, what do you say, a temperament to be a leader.
right, right,
So it's very important that you need a temperament for the leadership. You have to mentor, guide others, right? It is very easy to say, okay, you are not good or good,
right,
right? But then it is very important to empathize with the people,
right,
make them understand where this he or she
right,
lacks. In the leader's role is to make the people working with you successful.
right,
I'm not using the word
right,
under, because that's a very bad word to
right,
use.
right,
It's like working with
right,
you. So it's very, you as a manager, it is very important that you make people a comfortable
right,
while they work with you. B, make them successful.
right,
uh, because if you don't make them successful, you cannot be
correct,
successful.
correct,
I've seen a lot of managers always scrubbing the feelings or aspirations of people, right? Working with them. That's not the right
right,
approach. Tell them what will make them successful in their
right,
career. Maybe this company, maybe they don't fit there,
right,
maybe they will fit somewhere.
right,
So, but then help them guide, become a better designer,
right,
better
right,
professional. Then not tolerating their point of
right,
view.
right. Makes sense. I think that's a very good advice. I think as a general leader, also it's a very good advice, not specific to the design role only. So thanks a lot for that, Kishore. Coming to the next question, I think that's especially from Tanisha. She is from college, and she now wants to understand how to start preparing for UI UX. So though you mentioned a lot of tools, anything different you would like to suggest for the college students?
Yeah, it is very important, as I said, design thinking,
Yeah,
right? The think as a designer. So first is this book I was talking
right,
about. Second, I mean, let's say you want to be a designer. How to start?
right,
First, learning the
right,
tools. There's a lot of YouTube channels, right, wherein you can learn the
right,
tool from. Second is, can you be a problem solver?
right,
Okay.
right,
So first of all, you have to understand if there is a problem or not.
right,
Okay. Best approach is that try using the products which is available. Let's say try using Amazon,
right,
try using Zomato.
right,
Okay, try using other
right,
apps which is around
right,
you, and see what are the gaps they
right,
have. Okay, can you create another version of the app
right,
with a better thought process which you have?
right, right.
Okay, this is the most scratchiest approach of starting.
Got it.
Okay, if you can create basis this, you can create your portfolio.
Makes sense.
Okay. uh, this would help for sure get a lot of clarity to start with, and then you can build on that moving forward.
Got it. Next question is from Nancy. She's asking if one piece of advice you could give to somebody who is starting their career, or maybe I think especially is that like you had known at the start of your career. So I'll read the exact question to you. If you could offer one advice to aspiring designers that you wish you had known at the time of your career, what it would be.
I mean, I never went to a design school, so if I knew about design schools, I would have gone to a design school for sure.
Right.
So that is one thing I would have done.
Got it. Got it. Understood. Going to the next question. Um, I think this is something we've already answered though. What do you want to add anything? So this is from Sukanya. I would like to start and learn and start a career in UI UX designing. Where do I start effectively? I think that book then that you were mentioning, right?
Book, as I said, go to apps, see what they
Right.
do, how they do,
Right.
the beauty of it visually, how stunning they are, create stunning graphics,
Right.
and learn tools as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Next question, I think it's the last one. Actually, there's one more after this. So this one is from Piyush Gupta. So he's trying to ask, like, will AI replace your UX designer? What do you think? And this is very fair this days, right? Like,
I,
very been
yeah. So I mean, a lot of things AI can't. A lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of plugins, AI plugins I see these days, which provides you with a lot of
right,
content. Uh, it is AI is always helpful. They will not actually, because a human sensibility is very different actually from a AI. They can always create templatized version of
right,
things, right? May I mean, you can go and modify that
right,
as per the
right,
requirement, but then the sensibility of a human being can never be overpowered
right,
by anything
right.
in the world. That is what I believe in. Possibly I will be wrong someday, I don't know.
Right. I think, yeah, I think I think the same way. What I think AI will help you is AI will help you fasten the things. So for example, if you are doing right from scratch, maybe you can start from, somewhere midway. You can, get the maybe initial work done by AI and then do your thinking on top of it. But AI is never going to replace anyone, be it, designer or in any area. Rather, it's going to complement you. Just think about it, like as you were saying earlier, you were doing PNGs and all, right? So it was more time taking, it was more complicated. Now we have SVGs, we have, more other ways of doing graphics. So it has easen up your job, right? So I think the same way AI will again, it will complement your work and going to make it easy. So makes sense. Thanks, Kishore, again for that answer. I think that's helpful. The last question that we have again from Tanisha is, so the question is, does graphic designing helps in UI UX learning? So there's a field, right? Like graphic designing, meaning where we generate images and all. So does that help in UI UX? Because I think a lot of people do this regularly, right?
To write an essay, right, you need to know one ABCD.
Right.
So graphic designing is the
Got
ABCD.
it.
Okay, that is, if you can create stunning
Right.
visuals, of course that's the starting point.
Right.
Now you have to learn, you have to build on this. Everyone actually, I mean, I never went to a design school. I never knew UI UX till 2012, I believe,
Okay.
right? So I was a graphic designer to start with. In fact, when I started, I was a web developer, and then I started doing graphic
Right.
designer. So I mean, you keep on adding values to your life and profile, right? So it's like earning. First, to make a 1 lakh, you need to earn your first rupee.
Correct.
So graphic design is your first
Got
rupee.
it. And I think even through graphic design and designing, you can also get whether you're getting interested into it or not, right? Like, are you liking it? Are you not liking it? I think that can also give you that kind of idea in your mind.
It's a build up,
Right.
actually, I'll say.
Hmm. Makes sense. Thanks a lot, Kishore. I think that's all we had. These many questions, and I think these were very thoughtful information and very helpful information, at least for me, and I think for all the audience also. A lot of people gonna benefit from it. If anyone of you have any questions for Kishore, maybe after this, you can always reach out to Kishan on Engine Boogie. I'm just going to, give his profile. Maybe I'll put the profile link in the description. I think I've already put it. If not, I'll put the profile link of Kishore in the description of this video. Feel free to connect with him afterwards if you don't want to connect on, one-on-one. Maybe if you want to put a comment here, feel free to write it here. I'll maybe try to connect with Kishore and we'll try to get an answer from him. As you said, Kishore, maybe I'll try to, reach out to you again if we can have another follow-up session, maybe more deep dive into one of these things, because lots of things you were able to, mention, and I think many things we could not cover because of limited time. I mean, with doing it so fast, already we covered 1 hour, 30 minutes already, right? So I think that's where we wrap up. Thanks a lot, Kishore, once again, for all the time. And yeah, guys, like if you're looking for any mentorship, any session, feel free to log in at Engine Boogie. It's the world's most premier platform where we have the most expert people to guide you on various stuff. Thanks a lot once again, everyone. And thanks, Kishore, for your time today.
Thank you, Udit, for giving me time and opportunity to share my thought, my experience, and I hope I'll be adding more values moving forward.
Thanks a lot, Kishore. Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care, everyone. Bye.